What if I told you there's a secret, one that's, get this, 2,500 years old, that perfectly explains why some of today's biggest companies crash and burn while others dominate? And no, it's not about having more cash or a bigger team. It's about having an ultimate weapon. So let's dive in and figure out what it is. I mean, we all remember this one, right? Blockbuster. They saw Netflix coming from a mile away, but they just ignored the intel. It created this massive blind spot that cost them literally everything. But Netflix, they were obsessed. They were watching every single market shift. You see, they weren't just in the business of renting DVDs. They were in the business of gathering intelligence. This wasn't just a bad business decision. It was a complete failure of foresight. And you know who saw this coming thousands of years ago? The ancient strategist Sun Tzu. He basically said that being willfully ignorant, choosing not to see what's right in front of your face, that is the single most expensive mistake any leader can make. He even called it a moral failure, because it pretty much guarantees you're gonna fail before you even start. All right, so let's really talk about that cost. Because we're not just talking about losing a bit of market share here, we're talking about a total catastrophic failure, the kind that wastes fortunes and can ruin lives. Sun Tzu actually did the math on this, and it is just stark. Think about this. For every 10,000 soldiers you sent off to war, the economic ripple effect, the taxes, the supply chain disruptions, it would bankrupt 700,000 families back home. So, this brings the question right to your doorstep. When you make a big move in your business, launching a new product, starting a price war, are you acting on solid intel, or are you just rolling the dice? Because launching a product blind today, that's the modern version of sending those 10,000 soldiers into a battle you know nothing about. Okay, but here's the good news. Sun Tzu wasn't just about pointing out the problem. He actually gave us the solution, a timeless 5-part toolkit designed specifically to get you the intelligence you need to win. All right, first things first, let's get one thing straight. When we say espionage, we're not talking about Hollywood movies and breaking the law. Forget the ski masks. This is the art of legal intelligence gathering. It's all about being smarter, being more observant, and way more strategic. No disguise is necessary. So let's break this toolkit down. Sun Tzu laid out 5 different channels for gathering intel. For instance, you've got local spies. Think of these as insiders with deep regional knowledge. A great modern example? Hiring a competitor's former top salesperson from a key territory. Then there are living spies. Those are your boots on the ground, your scouts at trade shows, bringing back the freshest intel. But maybe the most powerful of all, the double spy. This is when you find your rival's mole and you turn them. Now you get to control the flow of information they receive. Game changer. But, and this is crucial, here's the real secret to making this whole system work. You can't just rely on one source. That's a rookie mistake. The golden rule is you have to use all 5 spy channels at once. It's when the intel from your ex-employee and the report from your trade show scout and your market research, when it all converges and tells the same story, that is when you know you've hit the truth. Okay, so knowing the tools is one thing, but knowing how to wield them, that's something else entirely. So now we get into the Spy Master's Playbook, how to actually put this all into action. Look, effective intelligence isn't about collecting a pile of random facts. It's about people. You've got to figure out who really calls the shots. Who's the person signing the checks? Who are the gatekeepers, the assistants, the lawyers protecting them? And maybe most importantly, who has the CEO's ear? Who are the key advisors they actually listen to? Okay, now this is where it gets really, really interesting. The ultimate power move is to turn their spies against them. It's a 3-step dance. Step 1, you identify their attempts to probe you. Catch them in the act. Step 2, you reward their spy by feeding them carefully crafted false information. And step 3, you just sit back and watch. You analyze how they react to that fake data, and their reaction will tell you everything you need to know about their real plan. Now, Sun Tzu had some unbreakable rules for this high-stakes game. Rule number 1 is all about trust and access. He said no one in your army gets closer to you than your spies. They have to be your most trusted confidants, closer than anyone. And rule number 2, it's about motivation and security.
Good intel isn't cheap, so you have to reward your sources, and reward them heavily. But, and this is a big but, the secrets they bring you must be guarded fiercely. It's a simple formula: high reward, high security. And don't think for a second this is just some dusty old theory. This playbook has been used to do everything from toppling ancient dynasties to building modern tech empires. Let's look at the proof. Just take a look at Google. When they discovered state-sponsored hackers had gotten into their systems, an event called Operation Aurora, they didn't just quietly patch the hole. No way. They used the attack. They turned the whole thing into a massive PR win, painting themselves as defenders of a free and open internet. And, at the same time, they used the intel they gathered from the attack to massively upgrade their own cybersecurity. That's not just playing defense. That's turning an attack into a strategic offense. Still think this is just some nice-to-have add-on? Well, get this. Apple reportedly spends $30 million every single year on competitive intelligence. They're not just sitting in a lab in Cupertino designing cool products in a vacuum. They are actively, strategically gathering intel on their rivals' products, their plans, their people. They are literally paying for foresight. And that brings us right back to the core idea we started with. The ultimate weapon in business isn't a slightly better product or a massive marketing budget. It's the ability to win the fight before it even begins. So let's boil this all down into your final playbook. 3 key takeaways. First, spend on intel to save on war. Every single dollar you put into foresight can save you $1 million in wasted effort later on. Second, disinformation is your superpower. Learn to feed your rivals bad data and you can watch them chase their own tails. And third, and this is so important, hunt for double agents in your own house first. Before you even think about looking outward, you gotta make sure you're not leaking from within. Ultimately, it really all comes down to this one simple philosophy. The wise leader, the master strategist, wins before the fighting even starts. The ignorant leader fights to win, and usually fails simply because they never bothered to understand the battlefield in the first place. So I'm gonna leave you with this one thought. Right now, in today's marketplace, you can be absolutely certain that your competitors are watching you. They're analyzing you. They're gathering intelligence on your every single move. The only real question is, are you doing the same to them?